Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network. All right, Skoob believers, let's get across the start line with Sandy Serling, owner of Fear Unzipped. Let's go.
We're all good enough. I know that. And I know that from all the guests that I have. We are all good enough. You wouldn't have been put on this planet if you weren't good enough. It's just finding your unique twist on whatever it is and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw it out there and see what sticks. I promise you, it'll change your life.
Salutations, Skoob believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Sandy. Hey, Sandy, how's it going?
It's going really, really well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line. Super appreciate your time.
I super appreciate your having me on. I love this. And the more information we can get out there to help entrepreneurs, I think the better, because we all are. We're all entrepreneurs.
That's right. All one way, shape, or form. We're always selling something, whether it be ourselves or something we're actually selling. It's all part and part. But I do have one kind of semi-serious question to ask you, okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Are you a Skoob believer?
I am 100% a Skoob believer.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for being a Skoob believer. I super appreciate you. So what we're going to do here right up front is I want to kind of get an idea of, who you are, what your entrepreneurial adventure is, and how you got across the start line in your entrepreneurial adventure.
It started way back in the day. I was a publicist. I had my own PR firm for 3 decades. And I happened upon it. I happened to work on a movie. I happened to become the publicist. I didn't know what I was doing in any way, but it came naturally to me. So I started a PR company, and I worked a lot with Hollywood TV shows and products and things like that. And I loved it. I was just wired for it. And so I did that for several decades. And I had beautiful clients. I had clients with a lot of big egos too, so I realized along the way what I did, I said to myself, Sandy, you're only going to work with people who are huggable. And when I did that, everything shifted and it was so beautiful. It was wonderful. Then, I did that for so long. I thought, okay, I'm ready to move out of that. Little did I know that I was going to end up doing a podcast, and it wasn't something that I was planning on, but I can tell you that I hike a lot. Sometimes I live in Oregon and I live in parts of California in the mountains. And I was hiking one day and I heard this voice because I do connect with my guides. My podcast is called Fear Unzipped, and it's about marrying neuroscience with metaphysics. Those are the 2 things that really catapulted me forward. So I'm walking along and I hear this voice saying, Sandy, you're going to do my knowing, you're going to do a podcast. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm talking to the air. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. It's going to be called Fear Unzipped. No, I'm definitely not, because fear is in the title and fear is scary. And I'm definitely not doing that. And they proceeded to explain to me that fear is just a word and it's a frequency and energy that we put an emotion to. it would be the same as, I love chocolate, but somebody who has allergies to chocolate might hear the word chocolate and go, oh no, that's awful. It's just a word. These are all just words that trigger us, and they have no value emotionally. So the more, they're telling me this, and then I had all these signs come in, Skoob, that reinforced it. I went, you've got to be kidding me. A woman walks by right after I get the message. I'm on the trail. Nobody's on the trail. She's wearing a shirt that says fear less. And I stopped her and I said, okay, I need to talk to you because this is the message I just got. And she goes, oh, yeah, I was in so much fear. I had this awful marriage and blah, blah, blah. She went in this story. And I'm getting all this validation that we need this podcast. So after listening or observing all the signs, I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was scared. I was very fearful. And it's called Fear Unzipped. And it was me, Sandy, unzipping my own fear because always was behind the camera. I was always putting my clients in front of the camera and getting attention. This time I'm in front of the camera and it's not a comfortable, it's getting more comfortable, but it was not a comfortable place for me. So I'm a big believer in signs and listening to my intuitive, my gut. And then I just said, okay, I'm all in. There's a lot more that went with it.
No, that's a fantastic story, Sandy. And I love the synchronicity in it because it's like everything that you've done up to this point has led you here. Everything that you've learned while you're helping other people behind the scenes. Now, not only do you know the behind the scenes stuff that needs to be accomplished to do what you do, but now you're in front of the camera doing this part of it as well too. But if you didn't go through all of that other stuff to learn what to do behind the camera, then this would have been a lot harder for you, maybe even to the point where you wouldn't even have accomplished it. So you went down this path that led you here. And that's a very synchronicity. I learned so much about it, especially over the last actually a couple months, because I've been reading into it a little bit more and realizing that my story that I have for myself, there's a lot of synchronicity to it too. But I love the fact that you fell into the podcast. I love how you just kind of like worded it that way. What made you feel that you just fell into the podcast? We talked about the voice, but what did it for you?
First of all, I want to address something that you said, and that is what I have found. All the things that have happened in my life that I have thought were just awful, the things that just took you down, the things that kicked you in the gut that were so hard. And you think, oh my God, I'm never going to get through this. Those things prepare you for what you're going to do next. And you become a much more empathetic, sympathetic, authentic person when you have those kinds of experiences. So those experiences that we just want to cry over are the ones that I say I want to write thank you notes to now. They've made a huge difference. And then with the podcast, I kept getting so many signs. And I am, like I say, a real believer in signs. Things would pop up about fearless or fear or facing your fears, or people would say I'm in a portal with somebody that I really respect. He has thousands and thousands of people. And I'm in it once a month. He does a live. I asked a question, you send him in. He picks five. There are thousands, 5,000 were on that particular experience. I was one of the ones he picked. And my question was, I'm really scared to do a podcast. There are a million of them. No, there are a gazillion of them. What makes me think I can do this? Who's going to listen to me? And the response was, you have to do it because there is somebody for everybody. You are going to touch upon something that is going to touch certain people's hearts and they're going to connect with you. There is room for everybody in every space we're talking about here. So I realize there's too many people in the space. People are going to find you, and people have found me. And it is absolutely the most beautiful thing ever.
It really is. And you touched on something too that I look at when I come across imposter syndrome, because that's what that was. It's a who am I? Why am I doing this? Who's going to listen to me?
Mm-hmm.
But something that I've been telling myself when I have that experience, because we all have that experience in one way, shape, or form, is that there is 7 billion people on this planet. Somewhere on this planet, there is somebody that needs to hear something from me in my own voice, whether it's something they've heard over and over and over again from a bunch of other people. Somebody has to hear it from me, and I don't want to deprive them of that opportunity of hearing that from me. So when we come across something like that, it's good to think that there's someone out there that's waiting to hear your message with your voice at that particular time, because it's not just, and you hit this right on the head too, it's not just touching their lives when you do finally get your message there, but it's that person's touching those next lives, their family, their relatives, whatever, with your what you've told them, who's then going to tell them, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how we spread our word and what we do and what we say. And those people do, it just goes on forever. So it's so important to be able to touch that one person.
You're so right. I always say it's like throwing a pebble out into a lake in the concentric circles, and you're touching. When I was told about this podcast in this knowing that I had, they said, you are going to be, during the conversations, you are going to heal yourself, you're going to heal the guest, and the listeners are going to be in the bubble, and you're all going to heal together, and you're going to create this community. And I can tell you that when I worked in Hollywood, I worked with some of the most stunningly beautiful men and women, had all the money in the world. They had everything some people dream of. They were the most insecure people I've ever worked with. They're not good enough. They're not pretty enough. They don't have enough. They don't, you know, believe me that it happens to everyone. It's not just me. It's not just you, but it's everyone. And the more you have, I find the more insecurity can surface, because it's never enough. It's like trying to fill a canoe with a hole in it, and it's never enough. So you really have to find it, as cliche as it is, find it from within. And my belief is authenticity is where it's at. And if you're authentic, people are going to find you.
And people could literally smell inauthenticity. I think that's a word. But but yeah, if you're not authentic, people know it, and people will tend to gravitate away from you if you're not your authentic self, because they know. People can feel it. It's just an energy. It's a flow. It's a vibration. When you're not yourself, you're not at your fullest potential, even though you might think you are at the time.
Yeah, or you're not from your true higher self, or whatever words you want to use. If you're saying what you think people are going to want to hear, it doesn't work. And so I said, if I'm going to do this podcast, I'm going to be fully authentic. I'm going to be really raw and honest. And it's, it is scary. And I can also say, doing a podcast, if people had told me what I needed to learn to do it, oh, it's much harder than my PR, much, much harder than running my PR company. If I had known what I needed to know, I wouldn't have done it. So I'm really glad I was in a dark space about it, because not dark, but that I didn't really know what I needed to do, because there's so many puzzle pieces to it. I don't think people realize.
A lot of people tend to over-educate themselves. They think they need to know everything up front before they even get started, when all you really need to know is, how do I press play and get Zoom to work, and just go from there and learn things as you need, instead of learning everything you think you need up front, because now you're just stalling. Yeah.
I want to tell you that my biggest fear was hitting Zoom, hitting play, record, and not having a producer on it, because I'm so used to having producers with me, and not getting the recording right, not knowing how to download it. I had such a fear around it. And when I did it, even sending out the Zoom invitations, that I felt like I conquered Mount Everest when I got those two things done. And I know it seems so silly, but I'm a believer in patting yourself on the back for every accomplishment that you make, that you are putting yourself out there. You could stay out of it and not put yourself out there and not, face adversity or whatever might happen. So applaud yourself every day. I just go, I'm really proud of myself that I'm doing it.
Because if you're not doing it, you're just being stagnant. You're not doing anything. You might be comfortable in your little hidey hole. Yeah, I'm not, I'm safe here. Nothing bad will happen to me. But what are we actually doing? We're hiding away from what could be something amazing. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to reach out, get to that uncomfortable place and learn something new that will help us along whatever it is that we're trying to get to, wherever the world takes us. But if we're not going to take that first step, I call that getting across the start line. If we don't get across the start line, then we're not doing anything.
Yeah, the magic happens outside your comfort zone. It is so true.
And I'm also going to suggest a book. This is great, written by my mentor Pat Flynn. Just came out recently, called Lean Learning. And this book goes into detail how we overcomplicate things when we're learning something new and something different. Yes. So instead of doing that, just learn what you need to know to get to the next point. And don't overwhelm yourself with a bunch of knowledge that you're not going to use. So I always suggest that when I talk about that.
I think excellent point. And I had a guest on, Natalie Miles, who said, if you're 70% ready, you're ready. That you're never going to be 100% ready. It's never going to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. It's always morphing. But if you're 70% there, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because perfection, we're going to go into perfectionism. Perfectionism will stop you from getting started because we want to make this little tweak here. We want to make it perfect. Or I think my favorite one is waiting for the perfect time. That's really what stopped me. And the perfect time is not on the calendar. It doesn't say, December 24th, the perfect time to start this. It's just, whatever. But that's why it's just so important to just go and just see where it takes you, because you get to the right point and you start working in your zone of genius, it will work itself out more than anything else.
It does. If you believe in it and you're authentic about it, I promise people are going to come in, people that you don't expect. I have a beautiful production company. I have a beautiful social media company. I look back and go, how did I get these beautiful people in my life? But they came in, I think, like a magnet because I was putting it out there and just the right people came in for me. So it's better to just throw yourself out there and try it than never try it. And I so promise there's going to be a reward to it and you're going to be very, very proud of yourself.
So get out there and do it. Whatever it is.
There's this saying, just do it.
Just do it. We're not, Nike, but we're going to say it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. So what do you think actually, I'm sure we touched this, but I'm just wondering what your opinion on this, but do you think stops most entrepreneurs from getting started?
Fear. I think it's fear. I think it's fear of looking like they don't know what they're doing or being foolish or shame or being vulnerable and going, oh, other people can do it so much better. And look at this person has 1 million people following their podcast. Or whatever it is, whatever, the thing is that you want to do in an artist. There are millions of artists out there. Why would anybody like my art? Why should I do it? I think we're constantly up against perfectionism. You look at all the filters that are used on everything now, and everybody looks perfect and everybody's got to look, the clothing. And I think we're tired of that, Skoob. I think what I found with COVID, all of a sudden you're watching national TV shows and people are talking from their kitchen. I'm talking from my office right now. You would never have seen my office if I was trying to do a pristine production and times were different. But COVID brought us into this space where we really got into each other's homes and people got real and they talked about things that were challenging and we could connect with each other. It was weird because we couldn't connect and we could connect. It was that dichotomy of what was going on. We couldn't physically connect, but we had to find a way to do it. But I do think that feeling not good enough. And the thing is, we're all good enough. I know that. And I know that from all the guests that I have. We are all good enough. You wouldn't have been put on this planet if you weren't good enough. It's just finding your unique twist on whatever it is and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw it out there and see what sticks. I promise you, it'll change your life.
And you make a good point too, where something so negative as COVID, because that was pretty negative. But if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for this world going through COVID, we wouldn't be having a lot of what the outcome is now. I would never been able to put this podcast out until, I didn't even know what Zoom was until COVID. I didn't even know what that was about.
Nobody did.
So, but, once again, taking something negative and finding the positive, the things that we learned through it, realizing that we don't have to have this big production behind us. We could just have a nice sitting behind you and just talk like normal people without a script and all this other stuff happening. Lighting doesn't have to be perfect, whatever. We could sit down and have a conversation and people can learn from what we're doing here.
100%. I did go through a lighting and all that. Because I came from production in my PR firm, I was used to really nice sets and things. And then I had to one day just go, okay, this is me. This is my office. This is me. This is the lighting I've got. Go with it because it's the conversation that we care about. And what's very interesting, Skoob, is when I put it out there and I started reaching out to people that I had deep respect for, that had lots and lots of people that knew who they were. Every one of them said yes, and they didn't know who I was, and I didn't have a podcast yet. I didn't have any numbers. I didn't have anything. Those are the people I want, the people that can feel the authenticity. And it's just grown from there. So yeah, my advice is just work from your heart and be as authentic as you possibly can, and people will find you.
Fantastic. We have mentioned fear a couple of times, and it's obviously in the name of your podcast. Do you know the acronym for fear?
Yeah, you have it, and I can't remember what it was.
That's okay. False evidence appearing real. And I think you are a very good example of what that really means. That really embodies everything that you come across. Because the fear is there, but it wasn't a saber-toothed tiger that was going to bite you. It wasn't going to be something that was, physically going to hurt you. So why not give it a try and see what happens?
It's just emotionally, you think people are going to think you look silly. The thing is that I found out people really care more about themselves and they're not really checking on you. They're worried about what's going on with themselves. But I do have to say that all my life, until I got into neuroscience and studying neuroscience from an armchair perspective, I was extremely anxious. I had severe anxiety all my life. So I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. What I found out later was I'm an intuitive and I have ability, we all have these abilities, but I didn't realize that I was picking up on everybody else's energy. And that's the other thing I'd like to share is that if you are really anxious and scared and all those emotions that go with it, I can almost guarantee that 80 to 90% of that fear and anxiety in you isn't even you. It's picking up on a parent, on a child, on a coworker, on an employer, on somebody who once said something to you that was hurtful and harmful. Those things stick with us like glue. And so I've learned how to decipher between what's mine and what's somebody else's. Huge gift to figure that out.
And you know what's funny is podcasting released me from that. all those negative feelings and emotions and all that. I used to be a pretty negative guy. I'm going to be honest with you. But once I started
Mm.
getting into podcasting and putting myself out there and realizing my communication improved, the way I talked to people, the way I acted, it was just completely different. And then I realized that I found myself. I found out what I really loved and what I wanted to do. And that made a huge switch for me.
So that's so interesting, Skoob. I'm actually going to ask you what happened. You just explained it, but so you said you were very negative. All of a sudden, you're in front talking to guests. How did that shift the negativity? What was it about that?
I think it was mostly just my confidence in myself because I'm the only one doing this. This is a me beginning to end, right?
Yeah.
So me having confidence in myself and saying, "Hey, I can actually do this." A lot of my growing up, a lot of the people that I hung around were people, "You're not smart enough to do this."
Mm.
Negative, negative, negative. You're not too smart enough. The technology is too much for you, whatever it was. So I actually said, "Okay, yeah, I'm not smart. Fine." I just gave into that. But now I just went ahead and did it and realized I can do this. I can accomplish it. Now that I can accomplish this, what more can I accomplish? What more can I do to help other people? What more can I do to tell people my story and maybe make an impact for them? And it just grew from there. And now I've been podcasting for almost 4 years now, 220 plus
Wow.
episodes. And it's been just an amazing shift in this turned into me. I'm sorry. I just
No, because you know what? We're all the same in this. We're
yeah.
all struggling through the same thing. So please, I like that. I like you sharing that. And it, keep going.
So it was just so I could tell you where it turned around. I read it in a book, and I actually
Mm,
talk about this book a lot. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
hmm.
And it showed me that I have the capability of raising my roof of love and abundance instead of sabotaging myself to be where I am now. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I used to have this thing I used to call the Blount curse. My last name is Blount. And I used to have the Blount curse where I would get to a level, then, okay, cool. So then I could get up to another level. Okay, yeah, we're doing like I get a raise at work or whatever. And then all of a sudden I do something really dumb to sabotage everything. I have to start
Hmm.
over again. That was my life. That's the way I ran my life. I would get here and then crash all the way back down again. But ever since I learned about how I can catch myself before I sabotage myself, before that actually happens, it's turned me into a whole different person because now I can accept love and abundance in my life, not
Beautiful.
just from others outside, but from myself too at the same time.
It's got to be from yourself because you've got to feel comfortable within yourself. And, I always say I'm a work in progress. I have so many tools and I'm a work in progress. The thing that is so important is that if you notice, let's say you're in a negative spin, but if you notice that, oh, I'm in a negative spin, that's the only way you can change. Is it's noticing is a precursor to change. If you don't notice that, you're always going to be in that negative spin. So kudos to you for noticing. And I say a lot on my podcast, it's about frequency, it's about energy, it's about science, quantum physics, and about metaphysics. So I always say, people say, what can I do? The world's falling apart. What can I possibly do to shift things? And what I say, and this is how I live my life, my frequency has to be love or higher. It's got to be. Now, it's not 100%. I'm human and I get ticked off. I just do, but not for very long. So if we can keep that energy of love or higher, compassion, kindness, we need it more than anything, especially when somebody has a completely opposite view of yours. It's easy to love the ones that are just like you, but the ones that are thinking very differently, that's tough, but we've got to find a way.
Very well put. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. That's great words. So I think we hit this one before, but I'm going to actually ask it anyway because this is actually one of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite questions. Now, I'm sure you've been on a few podcasts and you've heard what was your biggest pitfall? What was the hardest thing that you came across? Blah, 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 blah. So I like to put my own little twist on it. And what is one really bad pitfall that you had that you're proud of? I'm so glad I had this pitfall because out of that pitfall was something amazing. We haven't.
I had one with the podcast. My first, I wasn't first, but I had a guest. I love my beautiful, beautiful guests. But I had a guest that got nervous once the social media, we did the social media, and it was out, felt that it wasn't in alignment with what they wanted. It was straight out of the actual episode. Nothing was made up. It was actually that person's words, but they got nervous, and I understand it. I completely understand because you're putting yourself out there. And I was devastated, Skoob. My goal here is to make everybody happy. And I thought, oh no, oh no, oh no, I made this person sad or upset. And it happened towards the very beginning, which is really great. And I I was, oh, my heart just broke. It was so hard for me. And I have really close friends. I was talking to my friends. And then I thought, oh, thank goodness this happened because it made me much more cognizant about show notes, about the clips, about everything. I actually let my guests see the show notes because I want them to be really happy with them. And I know a lot of podcasters don't do that. But I became a much better podcaster because of it. And this person is a dear, dear friend now and loves everything. And it all just turned around. But I just thought, oh no, I can't do this. If I'm going to come up against a wall with every episode that I put out there, I can't. And it was such a gift. And it was given to me in the very beginning when I'm getting, my sea legs, I'm trying to figure it out. So the advice that I have or the words of wisdom or what I learned is the stuff that's going to be real crappy and make you feel really awful are the gifts because you're going to figure things out from it and you're not going to make certain mistakes again. That was it. I was really devastated for a week.
Yeah, I could definitely tell by how powerful you were saying that story and how emotional it was. And yeah, when you come across something like that, it's rough. It really is because you're like, especially in the very beginning, you're like, oh no, what did I do wrong? How did this happen? And what do I do now? Because this is something I've never experienced before. But it's those instances, it's those experiences that we have, even though they're negative at the time, that teach us the most in the long term.
Mhm. And what I can say about that is if I didn't have people that were working with me at the time, it would have been an easy way to say, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm going to stop. And I really encourage people because we're going to all have moments like that. And there's going to be another one. It's life. Life is a little messy sometimes, and it's also magical and spectacular. So when those things come up, notice them, feel them, because I think it's really important to feel the emotions and let it go and figure out how you're not going to have that happen again. And you won't have it happen again, and you'll be better for it.
You'll definitely be able to look out for it because you know it's coming because it's happened to you once
Hmm.
before now. And I said, oh, I remember this from last time. I can prepare myself now because I know exactly how to handle this particular situation because I've handled it once already or twice or whatever it is that's come about. So
Hmm.
even though things are negative, think of what you're learning out of them. Think of where you're going to go with them, how you handle these things because it makes the biggest difference.
It's so true. And the reason I wanted to do something is that I had ended my PR firm several years ago, and life was great. I was hiking. I was just doing, I was just having fun, but I didn't feel like my brain was being stimulated as much as I wanted it. And I'm an extremely curious person. And so I needed something to really get the juices flowing. And I love learning about science and I love, diving into the metaphysics and where the bridge is between the two. It's neuroscientists now are talking about visualization and intuition and remote viewing. It's very, very interesting that they're coming together. So I feel like I'm keeping my cells alive inside of me by constantly learning something new every single day.
I'm gonna get a little selfish here because I'm actually doing my first public speaking engagement coming up here in the next couple months, and it's gonna be a pretty big stage with a lot of people. And one thing I've been deep diving in is visualization, since you brought it up.
Mhm.
Visualizing me being up on stage and everybody loving my talk and everything like that. Can you go excuse me, thank you, editing. Can you go a little bit deeper into visualization and how that actually works?
Sure. So the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. So if I tell myself I'm stupid, the brain's going to go, oh, she's stupid. Okay, let me make her feel stupid, because your brain is your best friend. It's just telling you what it thinks you want. So if you visualize being on that stage, being very articulate, the audience hanging on every word, smiling, laughing, applauding, that's really happening. There is no difference between, that's not a fantasy. That is really happening in kind of another reality. So visualize it. When we visualize, we're telling our brain this is happening. That's why it's not kind to us to say negative things about ourselves, because the brain's going to go, oh, sure. If you feel that way, I'm going to comfort you, wrap my whatever around you, the cells around you, and make you feel the way that you're telling me to. It's so important to talk to yourself like you are your best friend. You are going to be very kind to your best friend. I know you've heard this over and over, but the key here is the brain does not know the difference between reality and fantasy. And that's science. So a visualization is extremely powerful. It can heal you. It can catapult you forward. I do it all the time. In fact, I can tell you, before I did my podcast, I did a recording. It's called my magical podcast, something like that. And I wrote this long thing about how incredible it was, and these guests that came on. I named the guests and how I felt when the guests. I hadn't started it yet. How I felt, how the guest was, what it was like on it, and oh my gosh, and the comments people were making. And I just said, I'm so grateful and humble. And I was so much appreciation. So I looped it. I wrote 8 minutes worth and I looped it. So I listened to it every day and I looped it for 45 minutes. So I would listen to it every morning when I woke up and while I was hiking. The funny thing is, almost every single one of those guests that I had on there are guests that have actually been on my podcast now. We're putting this out in the ethers. Put out what you want. We're a magnet. We are a magnet for whatever we want to manifest. I know that sounds like a cliche word, but we are a magnet for manifestation. So put out the positive and what you want. My magical audio tape really worked.
Your brain helps you find what you're looking for. If you're looking for something positive, if you're looking for that, the people that you ended up having on your podcast or anything like that, you told your brain to look for that. That's what it found. But on the other side of the token, if you tell your brain, "Hey, I'm miserable, I'm not good enough," or anything like that, it will find ways to
100%.
to put that in front of you because that's what you're asking for it to find. So that's why visualization has probably been one of the biggest things, especially over the last couple months that I've been doing, and it's working. I've had a lot of people on my podcast I never thought would be on my podcast. It's the same thing for me too. So I appreciate you explaining that to me.
I do love that.
All right. So if you came across a brand new entrepreneur that's just getting started, we've given some great advice up to this point in our podcast, but what's one good, solid piece of advice you would give a brand new entrepreneur that was saying, "Hey, I'm just getting started. What can you help me with? What can you tell me?"
Find out what your unique abilities are and what you have to offer, and feel that you're worthy and that you do have information to impart into the world, and there is absolutely somebody, and probably thousands and tens of thousands of people that want to hear your voice. And I think it's taking that first step. And I do believe energetically, if you come from us, I keep saying authenticity. This is such a key right now because we see so much that's not authentic in the world right now. And it's really hurting our hearts. A lot of people are in a lot of pain right now. But when you come across authenticity and compassion and kindness, I really believe that that's what we all want. And we're just getting to it in different ways. But if you are authentic and you put out the energy of that you really, really believe that this is you and you want to put it out there, you will be a magnet. And we're energetic beings. Nothing on us is solid. This isn't, my body's not solid. My desk isn't solid. The monitor's not solid. Everything is vibrating. That's quantum physics. And we're all connected. And it's the string theories. So remember, whatever you have to put out there, you are going to connect, 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 connect. And you're going to bring in people that are going to support you in this endeavor.
It's the people that vibrate with you. Most people
It's
say vibe, but if you really think about it, it's the people that vibrate with you and your frequency that you
mhm.
bring with you, because those are the people that you want to have around you.
And remember, there are going to be people that are not going to vibe with you and they're not going to resonate with you and they're going to make your life difficult. And they are going to say, what do you think you're doing? You're not skilled at this. This person's great at it. There are people that like to tear other people down. And you just got to be solid in yourself and find your tribe, because they are going to support you and want you to just thrive, because there's room for everyone.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So I have a tradition with all my guests. In the next 6 months, where do you see you and your company? What do you have planned for yourself in the next 6 months?
Can I tell you, Skoob? I don't do that.
Oh, that's okay.
No, no, no. I don't do goals. I don't, because what I found is that if I say, okay, I want to have, I don't even know what it would be in 6 months, probably a certain guest on the show. But I feel like then it limits what the possibilities are, because then I'm focused. It's like vision boards. I know they work great for a lot of people, but sometimes when you paste that thing on that vision board, I always think you should do a vision board for energy. I want to feel happy. I want to feel joy. I want to feel abundant. I want to, rather than things on it. So I I can tell you this. I want to feel joyful. I want to feel like I'm constantly learning, that I'm just expanding exponentially, that I'm touching the lives of many, many people, but also my own, that I'm helping myself. And then if I help myself, then I can be a conduit for many, many others. That's what I want. I want to love what I'm doing and I want to feel joy in it.
That's amazing. So I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah,
What I like
go
to do
ahead.
with you, Sandy, is follow up with you in 6 months and see how things are going for you. I want to follow you and see where you've been and where you're going and all that good stuff. Is that okay with you?
100%. 100%. One of the questions I ask at the end of my podcast is, what is a successful life to you? Nobody has ever said making a certain amount of money or having a certain number of followers. It's always about community, or feeling grounded, or feeling peace. I think we all want to feel peace and calm. So we're shifting all of that stuff in, I think, a really positive way.
That's the idea. That's what I'm hoping for. That's for sure.
You're doing great, Scoob. I can tell you from my intuitive part.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna soar in ways that you never even imagined.
I think so too. I think so too. I've been visualizing it the whole time, so that I really see it happening. So, Sandy, this is your time to shine. This is the time I want you to sort of advertise yourself. How do we get a hold of you if we want to see more of all this awesome stuff that you're doing? Okay, ready? Okay. Set, go.
Okay. Thank you, Skoob. My podcast is Fear Unzipped, and you'll find it at Fear Unzipped everywhere. And my website is at Fear Unzipped. And it's a space. The important part of it, it's become a community. And I have people reach out to me from all over the world telling me how helpful it's been and how they're sharing it with other people. Nothing could make me happier, Skoob. Nothing could make me happier. And we're all in it together. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm learning just along with everybody else, which I really love. So we're all learning together. We're all holding hands. We're all jumping in. And so please join the Fear Unzipped community and just listen to a few podcasts that you feel will resonate with you. I promise you, you will find ways to navigate fear where you'll loosen that grip on fear. You're going to start feeling so much better about yourself. You are going to take the leap and become that entrepreneur that you wanted. I have so many guests that can help with that just in the conversation that we have. And remember that in our conversations are very, very, very high frequency. So you get in that bubble. When you listen, you're in that bubble of high frequency. And there, I find them life-changing.
So. All right. That's awesome. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much for coming on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Get Across the Start Line. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Skoob, I think you're doing a great service for so many of us entrepreneurs out there. Thank you. Thank you for being you and everything you're doing. And I really appreciate your having me on here. It means a lot to me.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. That's awesome. All right, Skoob believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Skoob believers, that was Sandy. Man, what a great conversation. We actually talked about a lot of amazing things. It's so great to have that kind of perspective in the podcast and kind of look at it from a different angle. But I still have two major takeaways I wanted to talk to you about in this podcast. Stop waiting for the signs. You are the sign the world's been hiking for. Unzip your fear today and launch raw, because 70% ready beats 100% regret every single time. We have to launch even if we're not 100% ready to go, because we still have the capability of putting the word out there about what we're doing and lives that we can change. 70% ready beats 100% regret. Your voice is the ripple 7 billion souls are starving for. Magnetize your tribe with brutal authenticity, or stay stagnant in the comfort zone you mistake for safety. We're not going to get anywhere in our comfort zone. Being safe is not going to progress us into something new and exciting that's going to move us forward in our lives and our entrepreneur adventure. Like I said in the podcast, don't deny that one person in that 7 billion people that need to hear your voice say what they need to hear to break them through to something amazing. With that, I'm going to say thank you very much, Skoob believers, for another great episode, and we'll definitely see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Hello, Skoob believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, you won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction. Fuel your empire and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.